Hey everyone, this is Corey with Stafford's EDC, and today we're taking a look at this little guy here. This is the Arcform Knives Saber. This is a liner lock model from Arcform, and this is manufactured by them, is what they're saying on their website. So I'm not sure if they're using an OEM or if they are an OEM themselves. I'm not super familiar with the company, but they are saying they're the manufacturer. The designer on this guy is Dustin Snyder, and this is one of their EDC pieces. They have some stuff categorized differently, like hard use and everyday carry, and this fits into the EDC category. This version in particular has the black blade and the Ultem handles, which are not my cup of tea, but that is what was included in the pass around here, so that is what we're looking at today. And they offer two other versions, both of which are in black micarta. Just one with the black blade and one with the satin blade, and I believe they are both 160. Yes, they're not charging any difference for, sorry, it's not a black micarta with the satin blade. It is a green micarta, so forgive me for that. It just looks black in the pictures. But then they have the black micarta with a black blade, and then the green micarta with satin blade, both of which are 160. And then this version here with the Ultem is 185. So just be prepared for that difference in price if you are going to be looking at picking one of these up. Spec-wise on this guy, you are looking at an overall length of 7¼ inch, so 7.25, with a 3.25 inch blade, cutting edge the same length, handle length of 4 inches, and this comes in just over 3 ounces at 3.01. I assume this is about the same weight-wise as the micarta versions, and I don't know if their website would change the weights if I were to pick a different handle material to be looking at, but keep that in mind nevertheless, that they're going to all be about the same, about 3 ounces. As I said, you're looking at Ultem for your handles, and the blade steel on this guy is 20 CV, which you can see right there, as well as the Arcform name written right there. Minimal branding on this. I really like that. They still have it, obviously, on both sides, the steel and the name. Something they probably could have put on the spine or in a different area, like down in this area is a pretty common area. I've seen steels marked recently. Would have been nice to keep this all clean, keep that nice black blade blemish-free, so to speak. But they chose to put them there, and they're pretty unobtrusive there as it is. Now the blade stock is 1/8 of an inch on this, and that is really just from this point here. Up from that, you have the swedge, and you hit full thickness in this little area right here. But cutting-wise, you have this hole to help give you some relief, and when there's not the hole, you have what's it called here? The swedge. That's the word I'm looking for. To help with cutting performance. And speaking of cutting performance, this has a pretty short flat grind on it. You can see the grind only makes it about halfway up the blade here. A little more as you get towards the top as that swedge comes forward, but nevertheless, the flat grind is fairly short, but it does get to a reasonably thin edge. It certainly is not the thinnest edge that I've handled, and in fact, I would even argue to say, without measuring, that the Theory, which has 0.14 inch blade stock, comes down to a slightly thinner edge than this guy here. So that's something just to keep in mind if you're looking for a super slicey, thin performer. This might not be the knife for you, but this is still plenty thin. Everyday tasks are no issue here. Breaking down cardboard would be just fine. Some things that really bug me about this knife is that it just borders the size of fitting my hand personally, and that's just, it's not going to be the same for everybody. I wear a large size glove. I got really wide hands but not really long fingers, and you can see here that I would desperately want a finger choil on this knife. It fits my 3 fingers phenomenally, but then I'm left here with a thumb and a pointer finger with nothing to do. Then if I back down, now I got a pinky that's hanging off, and I can get all 4 fingers on here if I really squeeze myself up here and kind of, instead of holding it down here, hold it up there. I can do it, but it's just just the tip of my pinky catching that. So I would love if this had a finger choil. If this was just that much bigger, it would be super comfortable, phenomenal in hand. But as is, it kind of, just for me, misses that mark of ergonomics. It's just a little too small or a little too large. You know, that's another thing too, is that if this was slightly smaller and I could only get 3 on it, but the fact that like my pinky kind of wants to go, it's hitting that mark in between. And for me, it's just a bothersome thing, but I know for some people this is going to be perfect ergonomically, and for others, you'll run into the same problem as me. So to each their own, it's going to be everyone's individual experience, but something worth noting from my experience as well. The 20CV seems to be just fine. I haven't sharpened it or anything like that, so I can't speak to their heat treat, but it held up just fine in normal use and testing. The detent on this is very good. I'm hoping you guys can hear this when it clicks in here. It's got a really nice bit of retention. See just how far this tip is when it wants to go in. Yeah, really nice solid detent. And you don't really hear it break. It's not like snappy like that. Like some knives kind of click when they break. This doesn't do that, but you really hear it on the close, just how nice that detent is. It closes with authority, which is nice. And then it fires out really well because of that. The closing action, it's on bearings. Liner lock is pretty easy to get to. You can see it's kind of scalloped out right here. Good spot for your thumb. Drops to the fingernail, and then just shake it shut the rest of the way. And you have absolutely no issue at all with that. Ultimately, sorry, I can't help myself sometimes. This knife is just, like I said, that the size thing is really what kills this for me. Nothing wrong with the design itself. It's a nice, sleek design. The blade to handle ratio is wonderful. They are, visually speaking, they look like they're almost the exact same length. They're almost mirrors of each other in the shape. It's a really neat design, and I really enjoy the looks of this knife. Just in hand, for me, it doesn't quite do it. And that could, as like I've mentioned now a million times, could just be because the way my hands are shaped and the size of them. But nevertheless, the performance of this knife is just like your typical everyday carry knife. It's, you know, it's not super thin, not super slicey, but it's not thick at all either. It's just good for any type of task that it has to come across. And overall, just it's a knife. I don't know what else to say. It's a knife. This falls in under $200, especially if you're looking at the micarta versions and the 160. I think that's a pretty good price point. That's an area where you're going to be competing with companies like Kaiser, Best Tech, places like that for some of those more midline models. And this holds its weight to those. Not every model, of course, but this is definitely going to, you know, feel familiar to other things in that price range. It's not like the brand is forcing you to pay $30 more because the brand name. It's not doing anything like that. This is right on par with a lot of stuff coming from those kind of companies in that price range. So if you're not really sure what you want to get in that kind of 150, 180 price range, and you find this and you love the design of it, don't let this review sway you away from it based off of what I had to say about my hands, unless the same thing applies to you. Excuse me. Get like weird hiccup things going on. Because this will serve just the purpose you need for any other knife would in that price range. So, you know, I'm not shitting on this for any particular reason, just because it's in front of me. And yeah, it's just kind of it's a knife. It falls right into that category with all those other ones. Kind of just blends into the mix. So there's not a whole lot of amazing things to point out about it, but there really isn't any negatives. It's all personal for me, just with ergonomically and my hand size. Everything else about this knife is good. It's not great. It's not amazing. Nothing stands out particularly. It's just good. So I hope that clears things up, and I hope that you guys let me know what you think of the Saber down below. I'm interested in hearing in the comments what you think of this design and if you think it would be right for you. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoy the video and have a great rest of your day. Take care.